And here we are again, another week with another special guest. Today we are joined by Rodrigo Sañudo, a colleague of ours who made a big life change. He left a six-figure job in Switzerland to become a full-time indie maker, traveling the world with just what he could carry on his back. We talk about his journey, the challenges he faced, and how he managed to build a successful B2C product completely on his own.
I'm Giorgio Zinaro.
I'm Ivan Peña, and this is Bootstrap for Cash. Good morning, Giorgio. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think we have some hope that we are coming into something with our new product.
We always do.
Yeah, we're always saying we're into something, but yeah, it's still missing the part of the distribution, right? So yeah, we are still struggling with it. But anyway, today, hopefully we can learn something about it. We have a colleague of us with us. By the way, do you want me to call you Rodrigo or Sañudo?
You can call me Rodrigo in the podcast.
Okay, good. So he's a colleague of us. He's an indie maker. But yeah, we are going to talk about his travel through the whole digital nomad thing, leaving a job, having a good salary in a country like Switzerland to become a digital nomad, and about his projects. So, hi, Rodrigo. How are you doing?
Hello, Ivan. Hi, Giorgio. Thank you for having me and inviting me in your podcast. Doing well. Excited to see where this is going.
Okay, so let's start with some context. Rodrigo and I, it's going to be difficult for me to call you Rodrigo. I think I never called you Rodrigo.
No.
But yeah, I will try. So we met around, I don't know how many years ago. We met in Spain, back in Spain, when we were both in the university studying. We lived together for 3 years. And yeah, we've been friends since then. And then when I was in Switzerland and you were still in Spain, you decided to come to Switzerland, right?
Yep.
And we were living again together so that you can integrate in the country and so on. And you did pretty fast. And then you got a job, a really well-paid job as a designer, because your background is a UX, well, not UX designer, but more designer. But now the question is, what happened then?
I think what happened at that time was also happening before. Like, I remember when I went to visit you first to Switzerland, I was just visiting one summer with my motorcycle. And what happened at that time is that I was working in Spain already in a very well established and known design studio in Spain. And I was already a teacher in the university as well. I was in charge of one of the subjects. So I was already well in the career, we can say, but I was still feeling that something was missing, or that was not my thing, or I was not happy with the situation. At that time, I didn't know what was it exactly. I was just asking myself or telling myself, is this everything I can get? And I remember going to visit you to Switzerland saying, I've always wanted to go out abroad, travel. I'm going to visit Ivan and I'm going to see how it's Switzerland. And when I went, I visited you, I love it. And I said, okay, then I'm going to plan come to Switzerland. And then you already mentioned I went to Switzerland, good job, well paid. And I was still feeling that, oh, is this it? Like, I had something inside of me that was uncomfortable with the situation. And it was not about the money. It was not about
Me?
you. I didn't know what it was at that time. I really didn't know what it was at that time, because I had more money. Before I didn't have so much money, because working in Spain you don't have much money. I started to travel a little bit more, so that gave me a little bit of, oh, I actually like this. I can travel more often. And then at some point, I was really miserable working in Switzerland, and I was already trying to search for a job or another job actually in Switzerland. And my plan was never leave Switzerland, just staying there. I was happy. I was just miserable in another aspects. I don't want to give a lot of details.
As you can see, we Spaniards love to exaggerate. Like miserable is that you were not in the construction, right?
I was miserable. You know how I was at that time. I was very bad. Anyway, I was searching for another job. Well, I was starting to say, okay, I have to search for another job because I can't handle this anymore. And at that time, just that time, I remember when I actually decided, okay, I'm going to search for another job. I have to start tomorrow to update my portfolio, search for companies, blah, blah, blah. Like 2-3 days after that, one of my ex-bosses from Spain, the first startup I worked with, he called me and he asked me if I wanted to work with them.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time I said, I live in Switzerland. I'm not going to leave. If you want me to work for you, you need to pay me Swiss salary and I'm going to work remotely. That was my only option. Like I was never going back to Spain. So I said, why not, instead of saying no, I'm just ask for this. And if they say yes, I just win the lottery. And I win the lottery. Yes. If you want something, ask for it and maybe you get it.
And all this because you didn't want to miss fondue, right?
I didn't want to miss the fondue. I didn't want to miss the lakes, the mountains, the snow, all of that.
Mm-hmm. And the Swiss salary.
And the Swiss salary. No, I love Switzerland. Like the country itself is amazing. I was not miserable because of the country. It was other reasons. So yeah, I really love Switzerland. Anyway, they accepted. So at that time, my plan was to just stay living in Switzerland, work remotely. And it was like, okay, at least I can go to the next stage and not being so miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that time, I actually realized, now I work remotely. I can travel. Like they don't know. They are not going to know. They don't care. Even if they care, I am going to do it. So I started traveling more often.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it started.
And then you got stuck with COVID in Vietnam, right? Was it?
Yes. Yeah. So my plan at that time was spending 2 months in Zurich, 2 months in Poland, 2 months Zurich, 2 months somewhere else. And that was my plan. I was very happy doing it. I didn't want to change it. I didn't have in mind anything else. And at one of those trips, I was going to go 2 months to Vietnam and then going back to Switzerland. But COVID happened, so I got stuck. I didn't get stuck. Actually, I decided to get stuck because it was 1 or 2 weeks until my actual flight was going to return, and so I had been there already a month and a half, something like that, and I was living amazing there, nice people, very good food, amazing lifestyle.
Your girlfriend?
At that time, it was not my girlfriend.
No.
But I said, why am I going back now? Like, I live like amazing here. At the time, actually, what happened was that because of COVID, just before that, the company I was working for decided to, instead of fire people, just cut the time of every worker by half. Mm-hmm. So we were working half of the time, earning half of the money, which for a lot of people was an issue. But for me, it was not an issue. It was a blessing because I was working 4 hours per day and only between pots, only receiving half Swiss salary, living in Vietnam. So it was amazing. So I decided, why I'm going to go back. So I stayed in Vietnam. And after 6 months in Vietnam, that COVID went better. At that time, I had been already outside of the country in Switzerland a lot of time, and COVID was good. So the Swiss authorities wrote me in a very scary tone an email. Hey, you have to come back now. because you've been out of the country a lot of time. If you don't come back now, you are going to lose your residency. You are going to lose like all that you can lose. You are going to lose it, and you are not going to come back here ever again. So I said, okay, I'm going back, but I'm going back to leave the country. Because honestly, after living 6 months in Vietnam very well and meeting a lot of indie hackers, a lot of people who were doing also startups and other things, like why I'm going to go back to work full-time job when I don't need to. And also the quality of life in Southeast Asia, it's really good. So I went back to Switzerland. I did everything to leave the country. I got all my assets, like rent the apartment. And I suppose at the time I already became more like a traveler, digital nomad, whatever that means. Yeah.
So let's discuss afterwards about the indie hacking, but let's stick first to the digital nomad, because there are, especially in our country, I don't know about Italy, maybe as well, but there are a lot of young people leaving the country right now because, for obvious reasons. And I don't want to get political here, but maybe some of them, like it happened to me, I didn't know about this kind of lifestyle. So maybe that's something that resonates with them, but they don't know about it, right? It's like entrepreneurship. You need to be exposed to it to know it, right? So how did your lifestyle change from having your stable base in Switzerland with a stable work to not have a base at all, like traveling the world but not staying anywhere for more than 3 months?
I want to add on top before answering the question, something that I think is very important for those people that you have mentioned, and that for me, it is something that I have realized now after so many years, including also entrepreneurship. When I started, I had no idea that it was possible. So how my journey evolved was saying, I'm not happy where I am, but I have no clue where I can go. So I'm going to, try that thing that seems a little bit better. But I never knew that it was possible being a digital nomad. I never knew it was possible being an indie hacker. So knowing that it's possible for someone that is listening is the first super huge advantage and achievement. Like you can't save like 5 years of exploring. Now you know that it's possible. And then answering your question, for me, it changed in my mind in terms of the freedom that you have to choose, not have anything that is pulling you down or is restricting you from doing the things that you don't want to do. That was the biggest advantage and has been the biggest advantage, because if you don't like a place, you can just leave. If you are more comfortable for some time in one place, you just do it. If you want a more peaceful month to work on yourself, to just be in monk mode and work a lot, you can go anywhere and find in that place. If in the other side you want to be more social, you want to be with more friends, you want to have a more open life, everyday life, you can go to places that are like that. If you want to explore certain things, you can go there. If you want to just surf and go to places to surf, if you just want to ski, just can go to places to ski. So it was the freedom to be able to decide how I was going to spend every day of my life. And it's not a fancy thing of saying, yeah, you spend every day traveling. Like, you do that the first 6 months, but after 6 months, you're fucking tired and you just want a place to sit, have a chill life. But for example, what I see a lot is, if you really want to focus on yourself, maybe you can go at places in where there are more services or more people around that are searching for the same thing. If you want to be in building mode, you just go a city that has more building mode. Like it has either more indie hackers or more entrepreneurship, so you can really choose at any time. And even you can build your own themes between quotes on the year. So 3 years or 4 years, you are in a more chill place, enjoying. In 4 months, you are in a very entrepreneurship space. Then you visit your friends or family.
You are a very minimalistic person, right? You left Switzerland practically with just one bag on your back.
Yeah.
So if you were in this way, do you think this lifestyle would be possible?
Definitely no. At least at the beginning, when you are exploring, you need to be a little bit light.
Mm-hmm.
Then with time, I'm talking about, so all the nomads that I know end up doing the same thing at the end, which is after, I don't know how many years of exploring, 3, 4, 5, you end up being tired of so much traveling. You end up being tired of making friends that only last 2 months or 3 months. You go to a place that you know you're going to be there only 2 months, and it's like, I don't want to be friends with any, I don't want to make new friends. Like the effort is huge, and then in 2 months, I'm going to lose them.
Mm-hmm.
When am I going to see them again? So at the end, when you end up doing is having your 3 places that you recurrently go and like to go, in where you recurrently see the same people, and you end up going to the same 2, 3 places.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that time, you can have more of the things that you are mentioning now. Because you know you are going to go back to those places. So you can put things in the storage, so you can rent a house to be 6 months or things like that. But at the beginning, definitely not.
And I'm also wondering, how did your environment, so friends and family, took your decision? Or do they understand what you wanted to do? Or were they reluctant about it?
So my mother didn't understand anything I was doing at all, but she has never understood many of the things that I was doing. But at the end of the day, she always has trust my decisions.
That's
So
nice.
she always tells me, I have no idea what you are doing. Just be careful. I trust your decisions. And then around me, people, I think, also respect my decisions, usually. I remember some friends, I remember you, that you communicated your worry, like, hey, now with like being a digital nomad is already difficult. Now with COVID is going to be more difficult traveling, staying in a place. But I think everyone, at least if they didn't understand it, they accepted it, which is nice.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know if Giorgio has any question because he doesn't know the story.
Yeah, Giorgio, jump in whenever you want, right?
No, yeah, I was going to say the same. I was curious because you mentioned you started with a job that let you basically, I guess, freelance, or at least they let you work remotely and didn't care too much about where you were at. And then I was curious how that evolved. Because obviously, well, yeah, that can be a deliberate choice, right? Nowadays, it's also easier to get remote jobs. And then I'm curious how that evolved, because you said you knew nothing about indie hacking, indie making. And so what next? Like, I guess you met some people.
So what happened was, again, I mentioned it before, like I didn't know it was possible. Before this happened in Vietnam, like at that time. Before Vietnam, I always wanted to build something by myself, because I didn't really want to work for others. And I thought the only possibility was to create a startup, a VC startup, raise money with a team, build something big. And eventually, if you are lucky, you get some money, maybe. So I thought that was the only possibility. And I tried it before. I was trying it at the time with Ivan. And I met in a cafe when I was working, I met a random guy, which is not random, it's actually famous in the world of indie hackers, Andrei Asimov. I met him and he just said, hey, that website looks cool. And we start talking. And at that time, he mentioned it to me. I was mentioning that I was working on this product with these people, with this team. And then he told me, yeah, I'm working on this product by myself. I do everything. And at that time, I remember very clearly, looked at him and I thought, I'm 100% sure that what you are doing is fucking shit, because like we are 5 people trying to build a company and you are telling me that one person can build a business. You are full of shit.
And you don't want to be a unicorn. What the hell?
Yeah. But that's what I thought. And I was very wrong. Like Andrei Asimov at the time, I was making a lot of money, like more than 15K per month already. He was very successful and with a nice product. And I didn't know that. But that was my thought. And at that time, I just continued working on this VC startup product. And that I left it there, but it planted like a seed on my mind. And after that project failed, the one that I was doing with Ivan, I tried another VC startup at the same time doing some freelancing. And that project already also failed. So 2 years, I believe, 1 year and a half after meeting that guy, and I was very tired of working with people and trying to build startups with a team and raising money. Something in my mind remember that guy and that conversation at that time. And I said, this guy was doing things by himself. And I remember the name of his product. It was called Seed to Site, building websites from a spreadsheet. And I looked at it again and I said, Jesus, this guy is making this. I started researching him on Twitter, and I started researching that world, that time, like Nomad List with Peter Levels. I didn't know anything about them, and now Peter Levels is like the big reference of all indie makers. And at that time, I said, "Fuck! All of these people, like all these indie hackers, indie makers, that are making this money with cool products, working by themselves or maximum with another people. It's possible." And that was like,
Let's keep in mind, this is the time when vibe coding was not a thing, right? So they had to code themselves everything.
I was going to ask that because you said you're a designer, right, by trade. And I would feel like, well, to be honest, design is quite hard for me. Like, I feel I have for everyone except designers, right? Like, I have no taste. I feel like, how am I going to learn that? But I guess you had to learn how to code and probably a million other things. How did that happen?
When I studied design, was also, I think, lucky that my university forced 3 subjects of coding, HTML, coding between quotes, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, a little bit of PHP. So I was comfortable with web, and that always got me a lot of confidence to work with developers. And later, at that time, when I realized, fuck, it's possible, I had already a knowledge of, okay, I know how code works. So I'm not so scared of actually making something. Nevertheless, all my ideas, all the stuff that I had in my mind was more consumer apps for mobile phones. For that, I didn't want to learn React or anything like that. So I still had to learn Swift. But it was much easier than just facing it from scratch. Like, I already knew stuff.
One thing you mentioned is the concepts of indie hacking and indie maker. What's the difference between those concepts?
I don't know. I was going to ask you when you mentioned that. I don't know what's the difference.
It's exactly the same, or what?
But I suppose, I don't know.
I mean, when you say you're an indie maker, what?
No, I hear it from different names. I think it's the same. I don't know what's the difference.
Oh, okay, good. Okay.
2 names for the same thing. I have no clue what's the difference.
Good to know. Because I didn't know either, right? I tried to Google that, but I couldn't find anything.
No, if there's a difference, I don't know.
Okay. So then you started as an indie maker / indie hacker. let's say indie maker. You define yourself as indie maker, so let's say indie maker.
Yeah, I think it sounds better for people, because if you say that you're a hacker, it
sounds bad.
What's an indie hacker? Yeah.
It sounds hacky
Yeah.
and shady. Okay, so you started as indie maker, and then what? What was your first project? So you said you learned Swift. Why Swift? And what did you do with it?
So all my ideas were always around consumer mobile apps. And I tried to come up with ideas in the web because it was what I already kind of knew, but I couldn't. I couldn't find ideas that I was excited about. I had a lot of ideas, but no ideas that I said, I want to build this, or I believe in this. And I had to learn backend anyway. So I had to learn something. I had to renew my knowledge. So I decided to go with Swift because it was the easy path to go if you want to learn mobile app development. Again, we are talking, I think it was 4 years ago. So I learned Swift with a project that is actually Pretty Progress, which is an app for building countdowns. And the goal that I had there when I started was, okay, I'm going to build something entirely by myself. I don't care about the money it makes. I wanted to build that because I wanted to have it on my phone. And it was an easy project to do, between quotes, with widgets that I wanted to have, very easy, compartmental in the features enough app to learn, do the full cycle of releasing a whole product by yourself, and do a repetition and iteration of, okay, building something, put it out there, full cycle. Because when reading about indie hacking, I think a lot of people use the framework of, especially at the beginning, just do, 12 startups in 12 months. It doesn't have to be that number, but just do several products, put them out there. You have a lot of iterations, you learn a lot, and hopefully one of those sticks around, because you are going to be learning while you make them. And that's why I build Pretty Progress, just to put the first repetition, do the full cycle with an easy product. And my idea was continue building more apps, but Pretty Progress worked. So I stopped in my first iteration. Yeah, that's.
And you were your own user, you mentioned, right? So you wanted that yourself.
Yes, I wanted it for me. I did no research at all about if other people wanted it.
Okay.
I had no clue of the market. I had zero knowledge. If I would have known more about the market, I would have known not to do that. But maybe that's why, because I was making it purely from my creative energy. I want to build this. Fuck it. Maybe that's why it turned out working out, but I don't know.
Do you even research for competition or maybe just a solution to your own problem, or you just thought, I really need this?
So I found one single app in Product Hunt that did something similar while I was doing my web search, and I didn't like it. And
Okay.
but that's the only competitor that I knew. I didn't know if other people were already doing that. I didn't know how many competitors. I didn't know keyword research. I didn't know anything. I just built it because I wanted it for me.
So I know you did your homework. So now you're trying to humble it a bit. Like I did nothing. I came up with an idea for myself and then it worked out. We know maybe at the beginning it was like that. But after that, you started doing your own homework, right?
Yes. Yes.
So tell us about it.
Yeah, the very beginning was like that. But because my intention with that first project was just building something. After that, I was very happy with the result. Part of the cycle at that time when Product Hunt was a good website to release products as Indie Hacker, I also did the release in Product Hunt. And when I did the release in Product Hunt, I earn like $200 in a day, or 250. And people were giving, oh, this product is amazing. And they started to ask for more features. And I said, okay, I'm going to build these 2 or 3 features that people are asking. Maybe I earn some money, some extra money. And I built that for 1-2 more weeks. At the time, I was learning, so every feature took me like a long time to build as well. And then more users started to send in more feedback. Like they wanted more stuff, and they wanted to add more things. And people started to send more emails. And I was like, what the hell is happening here? So it kind of worked. Obviously, when I did the release, I did my homework. Like after that, I did my homework. Okay, searching for keywords. What are the keywords for the App Store? And I started to have it more seriously, because it was like, okay, some people are paying. If I can earn, I don't know, $100, $200 per month, would be an amazing achievement from this product. So I started to do the homework, and instead of going to the next product, because it was already having some traction, decided to, okay, I'm going to give this a couple of months, and let's see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And during those 2 months that I was already taking things a little bit more serious, I received an email from Apple saying something like, please send us some assets, because your app could be nominated as App of the Day for the App Store. And I said, what? And yeah, I prepared the assets. And because that was there, I said, okay, I'm going to improve the app a little bit more, just in case. Because they never tell you it is going to be featured. They tell you it may get featured.
Mm-hmm.
So I improved the app a little bit more for 1 or 2 months. Also, other users were sending more feedback. And after 2 months, I think, after I received the email, this is the 4th month of the app, like the live, I got featured as App of the Day on the App Store. That got me tons of downloads, good revenue, increased my App Store rankings, everything went very well. After that day, then everything goes down again. But the interesting thing was that when it goes down, the baseline is not as low as it was before.
Mm-hmm.
So it already increased a little bit. And after that time, I thought, Jesus, maybe I can improve the app a little bit more and earn a little bit more revenue. And that would be an amazing achievement. And I continue doing that. And the thing with the Apple feature was that they don't feature only one time, they feature you recurrently. So I don't know how many times I've been featured in the App Store already, different countries. So it was a cycle of they feature me and increase the baseline, and that single thing convinced me to work some extra months,
Mm-hmm.
some extra time on the app. Obviously, at that time, I was already researching keyword research. Also, something that helped me a lot was bringing downloads from outside of the App Store using SEO, which is something that I think mobile apps don't use as much as they could, because I think the only game they can play is App Store optimization. But SEO at that time was bringing me like 40% of my downloads, which is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Just focusing on the typical playbook SEO that you would see on Twitter for the indie hackers, like just build specific landing pages for an issue, or build free tools for your issue. And then the tool, for example, was calculate the percentage of the year. So people land there. I have a nice banner. Hey, you can see that in your phone, and people download that. So SEO, bringing downloads from SEO helped me a lot. And yeah, that was a cycle that it was fitting itself.
Did you get more traffic through SEO, like pure SEO from your website, your landing, or from ASEO, which is more focused on App Store optimization for keywords?
I think all the time I was getting more traffic from App Store optimization, ASO, but the percentage of extra downloads that you get from I got from SEO was really good. Like it was a considerable amount of downloads, like almost 40% in my best time in SEO and my worst time in App Store optimization. Especially at the beginning when, depending on your keywords in the App Store, they are very competitive. You can't win that game. It's very difficult if you only use App Store optimization. Like you really want to bring downloads and ratings from outside of the App Store in any way. You can use social media. Now TikTok is very useful tool for that. But you can also use SEO. You can use referrals. You can use a lot of things that get you usage from outside of the App Store, and then that will create a snowball. Because the more ratings you have, the more downloads you have, the more you climb. The more you climb, the more downloads you get on the App Store as well. So the more you climb, yeah.
And something might be counterintuitive for a 90 person like me, for instance, because it was for me back then when you told me about it, is why did you go directly to iOS, Apple, and not Android, considering the fact that the mobile market is divided 80% Android, 20% Apple. So why Apple?
First, it was a completely personal and subjective decision at the beginning.
You love Apple.
I hate Android. Yeah. And I love Apple. And I wanted to do something for myself. So I needed to do it for iOS anyway. But then if we now talk about it rationally, and now when I build new stuff, I made that decision as well. And it's not anymore a personal and subjective decision. The reason is there are more users in iOS than Android that are willing to pay more for an app. And the lifetime value of iOS users is bigger and higher than the Android users. And then depending which stack you use, if you use React Native or something that is cross-platform, you don't have this specific issue. But building Swift is very fast. It's very easy. Building in Kotlin, or at that time, it was not Kotlin, it was Java, I think. It's much slower. Now with AI, this may have changed. But at the time, building something in Swift UI takes half of the time than building it on Android. So you really want to validate something soon. And you are validating it in a market that is willing to pay more and pay more. And there are more apps that are earning more money in iOS than Android. There are also apps that make more money in Android than iOS. But generally speaking, apps earn more money in iOS than Android. But you never know, especially depending on the competition and so on. But developing for iOS, I would say even now, is faster than for Android. Like iOS, you have, 18 fonts, 20 fonts. You only have to optimize for those fonts, and they work pretty much the same. When you start developing for Android, like the amount of edge cases because of fonts, depending on what you do, is so big that you spend, you know how software works? Like you do 90% in 2 days, and 10% that is left, you do it in 2 weeks. So that 10% in Android is 3 times bigger. It's like, holy fuck. So yeah, it's much easier, it's faster to develop.
Especially when it comes to widgets.
Yeah.
If we, Giorgio and I, were to start something now, like to build some app, because you professionalize yourself on the app, mobile app, right? More than web. So if we were to start now with a mobile app, so could you please give us 2 or 3 tips how to start with it? Like, what are the first steps you would consider with the knowledge you have right now that you didn't back then?
So the first step obviously you need to have an idea of something that you want to build, or
Many of them.
or you get them by keyword research, and we can talk more about that in a moment. But the first thing to consider is always distribution. How are you going to get users? I don't care if it's an amazing app. If you don't know how are you going to get users, you are probably not starting from the right place. There are many ways of getting users. Currently, one of the two main ways of getting users is one is App Store optimization, which is similar to SEO. It works with keywords, with the description. People are searching in the App Store for stuff. The other way nowadays, more also that is big, is you have a strategy that is trying to get downloads by creating viral content in TikTok or the ways. There are other things, but because mobile apps are mostly consumer apps, call outreach may not work as well unless it's a business app or other methods. So first, distribution. How are you going to get users? Answer that question. And answering or not that question will probably remove 90% of your ideas already out. Don't build something that you cannot answer well. How are you going to find the users? And then I would say you need to do the work again on distribution all the time. Like we, three of us, because our initial career was development or design. We like to create things. We like to make them. We like to build a thing. And you can get lost in building the thing, in optimizing their own thing. That's beautiful. We love it. We enjoy it a lot. I enjoyed the first one. That's why it's very important to force you to do the distribution work or the marketing work, probably more than the building work. There are some guys out there that have even a website. Today it's marketing week, it's building week, it's marketing week, it's building week. So one week you do one thing, the other week you do other thing. So yeah, that would be my biggest two tips, especially probably focus on people which experiences more building, developers, designers. Just first answer, how are you going to distribute it? And then do the work on distribution. Probably you need to force yourself more than building.
So you said that we were going to talk about it now in a bit.
Yeah.
So what was it?
App Store optimization and keywords.
Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned before. So App Store optimization is very similar to SEO, search engine optimization, mainly for Google. There's other things, Bing and so on, and now LLMs. App Store optimization is just optimizing your keywords or your content on your App Store page of your app to be found by users when they search. Like if you search for habit tracker and you have an habit tracker app, obviously in your name, you probably are going to benefit from the habit tracker. Obviously, this is a very competitive keyword, very broad. So maybe you need to find a niche keyword that is easier to achieve, to get, maybe gives you less downloads at the beginning, but at least it gets you downloads. If you try to rank for habit tracker, you are not going to get that download because there are so many habit trackers. They have so many downloads. So you need to find which keywords you are going to rank with your app, habit tracker. Maybe it's water habit tracker. I don't know. I have no clue about this. I have not done any research, so don't follow my advice. It's the same work if you are already familiar with SEO. Similar type of work, but slightly different tooling between quotes. Because the keywords in the App Store, you have a limited space. You can't do infinite amount of web pages. So you have to focus in one single thing. Slightly different game, but similar.
So in a competitive market, you would recommend to go more to the niche. So maybe the market like habit tracker is too competitive and too broad, too generic, but maybe tracking how much water you drink every day. That would be a niche of it. So you would need more long tail keywords, more specific, saying water habit tracker. And then you can profit from that to position on the App Store, right?
Yeah, always, especially for indie hackers, going niche is a good thing. Maybe if you go too niche, it's too niche, but most of the time, most of the people will benefit from going a little bit more niche. Most of the time is what you see around. And yes, the game is not only build a product that is niche, but also your keywords should be niche according to that product. Especially for indie hackers, because if you are an indie hacker and in that niche you can only get 10K per month, if you are one person, that is a pretty good product. Like obviously could like if you do 50 is better, but 10K one person is already good. But a big company is never going to go for that. Never, because it's not enough money for them. So there is a space for indie hackers in the niche, and targeting it first is easier than going for broad terms. So you will get downloads at the beginning that will transform in hopefully in reviews and ratings, which is very helpful for App Store. And hopefully, if you have a good enough product and people care about it, you will receive feedback. And you will be able to improve your product with your feedback and start a loop in where maybe at the beginning is water habit tracker, but then instead of water, you can go a little bit more broad and is only for drinks, like every type of drink habit tracker. I'm just made it up. But just go a little bit higher on the niche, one niche that is close by, and then you have two niche. And then if you want to grow more, you go to something that is closer. And first you try to get the easy small keywords, and once you get the easy small keywords, you can go for keywords that are a little bit more difficult, and that's a continuous work that is tedious, and sometimes because the feedback loop is very slow, sometimes you made a mistake and you just remove 4 months of work, and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's the issue I see, right? Or that we are experiencing, Giorgio and I, with SEO and ASO, is that the feedback loop is really slow. So you really see the results of your work after a couple of months, luckily. And maybe they are negative. Hopefully. And then you need to pivot and then wait again. And it's a bit of a nightmare. But it worked for you, right? Because how much did you invest on other channels like social media, Reddit, X, and so on?
Basically nothing at the beginning. Like my beginning was App Store optimization and SEO.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing some Twitter marketing between quotes here and there, answering some tweets of people that were searching for countdowns, but that was very ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Like the amount of time that I was investing on that, it was ridiculous. So mainly I focused on App Store optimization and SEO at the beginning.
Do you have a preferred tool to do ASO?
I do. It's a tool from an indie hacker called Astro. If you search Astro ASO, I like it because it's cheap, but the downside is that you have to run it in your laptop. It is not in a server. That is the reason why it's cheap.
And it only supports App Store, right?
Yeah, only supports the App Store, and you have to have it on your laptop to run instead of having it in a web. You don't have to worry about it. But honestly, it has everything you need for App Store optimization. It has some downsides, but it's cheap. Like the alternatives are you paying $250 per month, and this is if you get it in Black Friday, I think it's like €60 per year. You know, it's like I don't need to pay 2,500 per year when I get the same job with a $50 tool, and it's pretty good. Like the guy is very nice. He's an indie hacker, so it's always good to support other indie hackers. Yeah.
What are your plans? What are you working on right now? Are you still working on Pretty Progress, and are you working on something else?
So currently, I'm still working on Pretty Progress. It's something that it doesn't make sense not to work, but I don't have to work on it. So I'm doing some improvements here and there. I'm trying to open a new channels like TikTok, social media. And while doing this, what I am doing is trying to get the opportunity to explore and experiment, especially with AI. And I'm building for now only for myself, like a tool to automate TikTok carousel generation with AI for my accounts. I'm very excited about also doing other things with AI. But I'm actually in a point in where I'm more open to explore more possibilities. Also in the past, I have done other apps. One for free diving, another one for calculating peptides. So I'm always like doing other things on the side, more or less successful. Yeah.
How do you find, I mean, calculating peptides is like, you are a designer. How did you get into that?
That was a very random found when I was doing keyword research. I was doing keyword research. Like one thing that I like to do sometimes for keyword research is going to the App Store on the web and just search for paid ads, and you search for the ranking on the US, for example. You can do this in every country because in every country is different, so you have a lot of ideas. So paid apps in the top rankings, and you just scroll through them, and you see a lot of stuff. Like, believe me, it's amazing the amount of stuff that you see there. That is like, oh my God, someone is like, what the hell is this app? And then you put the keywords of those apps on this tool for keywords, and you see like, oh, this is a thing. And sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it's just a random app that is like, okay, this is bad. But sometimes you find really, really, really good gems.
Mm-hmm.
One example was the Spectre calculator, that it was a simplified version of a GLP-1 tracker, like these Ozempics and all those stuff, that I didn't know those things existed already. But there's already like SOTS tracker, one app called SOTSI. I discovered those things. But one, for example, that surprised me was I found apps that track like women that have a baby
Mm-hmm.
that want to give their own milk all the time to the baby, but they don't want to breastfeed for a year and a half. They only want to breastfeed for, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months. So there's apps to track the protocol and how much milk you have to pump from your boobs to build a reserve of milk up to 12 months or 18 months. And surprisingly, those apps have a lot of downloads and people search already for them. There's also competitors. It's crazy. So I found it in this way, like, just do that. If you don't have ideas, just buy Astro, do that every day for 7 days, and you will have like 10 apps that have good enough keyword difficulty and good enough keyword search, like popularity. Like, it's amazing the things that you can find.
We will put Astro's link on the comments in the podcast in case you want to give it a try and also to do some promotion to your friend. You can send him the podcast. Maybe he wants to come one day to tell us about his journey.
I don't know him personally. I only know him from Twitter.
Okay.
I should make my affiliate first. He has affiliate program.
That's smart. What's the best market? So from all the apps that you developed, what's the most performing country? Because I think this is important if you're starting and you need to focus on something, on a market. From your experience, what market would that be, or what country?
From my experience and for everything that I know and hear is 100% the US first.
Mm-hmm. Even with tariffs.
There's no tariff for software products yet.
Don't give them ideas.
Definitely the US is the biggest market. You will get revenue for mobile apps. That doesn't mean that you cannot get money from other countries. And that doesn't mean you should not get money from other countries. especially depending on what is the app that you have. You can get money from other countries as well. And it's one of the easiest ways of growing revenue. Depending on the countries, you are not going to earn as much revenue. But especially nowadays with AI, depending on the complexity of your app, you can translate everything pretty fast to another language. You do a keyword research. When I did keyword research for Russian, it was very funny. I had no clue what I was doing. Or for Chinese, like I have no clue what I'm doing. I just copy paste terms. But you do the keyword research for other country. You change the App Store screenshots for other country. Maybe the total work is, I don't know, 2 days. And you are already in another market.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it gives you only 5% of your revenue, 10% of your revenue. But it's not a bad way of growing. But the biggest market definitely is the US.
Now you know, or we are hearing all around that SEO is dead because of ChatGPT, because people now tend to search more on ChatGPT than on Google, right? And SEO was more focusing on Google, not much on Bing and the other search engines. So is this affecting in a way your strategy to position your products?
My belief is that SEO is not dead, especially at least for now,
Mm-hmm.
because it's what the LLMs are using to provide you the information. SEO game is changing, but it's not dead. There are a lot of products and people I know that are now getting a lot of traffic from LLMs, but the LLM doesn't know if you exist. If you tell the LLM, how do you tell the LLM? You tell the LLM actually being good at SEO. That's the only way, at least for now. So SEO is not dead. SEO is probably as much important as it always has been. It's just the results may not be directly from Google, but ChatGPT is going to recommend your product because it appears in Google. And you can see a lot of people already in Twitter showing how many people are coming from ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
The way that it has changed is maybe, I'm not very expert on this. I should actually take a look. But I've read a couple of people that know about it mentioning that now it's more important to get like references from other people than it was before, and adding people who are actually good, who are reference on whatever thing you are doing, linking or talking to you. It's not anymore only about keywords, not only about backlinks, but that still matters. So I think the game has changed a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's not dead.
You got your girlfriend into this world, right?
Yeah.
How is she doing?
Well, she wanted to be in this world before she met me.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't do that.
Okay.
Because she wanted to build what she has built for years. We talk about that in our first date. The issue she had before is that she didn't have any developer or maker around herself. So didn't know how to learn, didn't know how to approach this. So I encouraged her to pursue her dream or her idea.
Mm-hmm.
And she learned by herself. First web, doing a little bit of web, which is less intimidating. And then she learned how to build apps with Swift UI as well. And she built a gut health tracker app. You can log your bowel movements, your symptoms, your food. So you learn about what affects you in a positive or negative way in your stomach to try to make decisions in what you eat to have a better life at the end, more healthy.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, like, she's very excited about building the product, but it's a very competitive and not easy market.
Mm-hmm.
So she has been trying to get more downloads, which is always the hard part. It's not building the product, it's getting downloads. And she's struggling a little bit to get downloads because it's not an easy market. There's also more competitors. Now she's making some downloads, making some money, but not really finding that velocity that allows you to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So now she's she has considered actually, like she has decided to pause it for a bit and to maybe do something else for now.
Okay. Sañudo, Rodrigo, sorry. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias for your time and your experience. And I hope you enjoyed it. Giorgio, any closing words on your side?
It was great. Thank you a lot. And I'm curious to see what you do next.
Thank you. Thank you both for having me. It was a pleasure. I feel this has been a monologue. But
well, I mean,
yeah. I don't know.
We are here to learn.
Exactly. We are here to learn, and we are not professionals podcasters, right? So we need to learn more to I guess it would be much easier if we are in the same room, right? The problem is, from our experience, is we conflict each other quite often, and it's because of the remote delay. So, and those kind of conflicts make the edition of the audio afterwards a nightmare. So that's why we tend, from experience, and also because we are a bit traumatized, we try to avoid conflicts, because whenever there is a conflict, it makes the editing a bit more difficult, right? Because then you need to piece together stuff so the listeners can listen to each part clearly, right? But yeah, we are still learning. We are not even 10 episodes, right, Giorgio? How many episodes do we have already?
Could this be the 5th or maybe the 6th once we publish this?
Yeah, probably.
It's really not that many.
Not many.
Oh, yeah. When it's successful, we're going to fly out and meet everyone, I guess.
It's great that you are doing it. Like, congratulations. Like, it's good.
Thank you.
You need to put the repetitions. We can do another podcast in person when I go to Switzerland.
Yeah, exactly. So whenever you start something new, you need to come back and tell us. Also with your experiences.
No, but it was fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
And yeah, we hope that you enjoy this content, and let us know in the comments, and please give us 5 stars on your favorite platforms. And yeah, hope to hear from you again next week.